It's wild to think how early we still are in this space. What blows my mind even more is realizing just how much money and how many investors haven't even entered the market yet. Imagine what happens when that wave hits. Adoption skyrockets, investors flood in, and the value they bring with them changes everything. Now think about where today's cryptocurrency projects stand. Take XRP, for example, at over $2, 0 cents. It's already doing well, but it's easy to see how projects like this could grow 5, 10, even 20 times bigger. And honestly, that's still being pretty conservative. I came across a post from Watcher Guru that mentioned a fun fact. Less than 7% of the global population is invested in crypto. It got me thinking. Now, I've said this before and I'll say it again. There's just no way to accurately measure this. Seriously, how could anyone track how much of the world is invested in crypto? Think about it. How many people have multiple wallets? How many have wallets sitting around with some crypto in them, but they've lost the keys or just stopped caring about it? And let's not forget those who have a random Dogecoin wallet convinced it's the next Bitcoin. When we look at crypto adoption today, let's be honest, most of it is driven by hype and speculation. So how much of that 7% adoption we hear about is actually going into real utility-based projects that people plan to hold on to? Probably less than 1%. Why do I think that? Well, take a look at the numbers. The XRP rich list tells us there are 6.6 million XRP wallets out there, specifically 6,629,508 wallets. Towards the end of December 2024, things really started to take off. By the end of the month, there were around 5.8 million XRP wallets out there. That's over 800,000 new wallets added in just the past 7 months. Pretty incredible growth, right? But here's something to think about. How many of these wallets belong to the same person? It's hard to say. For example, I personally have 3 or 4 cold storage devices for my crypto. And when it comes to hot wallets, probably around 10. So it's definitely possible that some of these wallets are owned by the same users. It's wild to think about, isn't it? Tracking how much of the global population actually holds XRP, or even just how many people are invested in crypto overall, is nearly impossible. And honestly, whatever number we have in mind is probably way lower than reality. Take a look at the data we do have, though. It's fascinating. For example, out of 6.6 million accounts, over 5 million of them hold just 0 to 500 XRP. That blows my mind. And if you check out the top 10%, those are wallets holding 2,486 XRP or more. That's about 663,000 accounts. And then you've got the top 5% holding 8,757 XRP or more, which drops down to 331,000 wallets. Here's the part that really gets me. Nearly 1 million wallets hold between 2,486 and 8,757 XRP. This really shows how much adoption XRP is seeing and how many more investors are likely to jump on board in the coming months and years. But I bring this up because I want to dive into XRP's price action and what we might expect this year. We've talked about price predictions before, right? Personally, I'm looking at a range of $7 to $10 as a more conservative estimate. If things get really bullish, we could see anywhere between $15 to $20. And if we're talking super bullish scenarios, it's possible we could hit $20 to $30. We've touched on this topic before, but today the story is taking a bit of a different turn. Let's kick things off with some exciting legislative updates. Big shout out to Subjective Views. On the 3rd, they shared that the Genius Act is heading to the president's desk next week, with the Clarity Act making its way to the Senate soon after. David Sachs also weighed in with a congratulatory message to President Trump, House and Senate leadership, and the White House staff for passing a major bill. It's a big win with historic moves on border security, tax cuts, welfare reform, and deregulation. Now mark your calendars because Crypto Week in the House is coming on July 14th. The Genius Act on stablecoins is heading to the president's desk, and he's eager to sign it as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, the Clarity Act on market structure is heading to the Senate. What a wild 6 months it's been. And there's so much more to come. Right now, crypto legislation is heating up just as the market itself is in a strange place. It's kind of crazy when you look at the sentiment out there. Retail investors seem almost defeated. The short positions on Ethereum are hitting historic levels, which really says a lot. Here's the thing. I've said before that when this short squeeze happens, it's going to be huge. It could send altcoins absolutely soaring. Yes, XRP included. Right now, speculators have built one of the largest short Ethereum futures positions ever. That just shows how bearish the retail side of the market really is right now. But you know what? This kind of setup only leads to one outcome. We've already seen hints of this with RTY, and I think we're in for something big. Ethereum just had an incredible run. It went absolutely parabolic off the lows. What's wild is that so many people are still super bearish on Ethereum and even crypto in general. Let's take a step back and think about this for a second. Crypto adoption is still in its early stages, and there's so much more room to grow. Investors are just starting to dip their toes in. And at the same time, the US is on the verge of passing some groundbreaking legislation. Meanwhile, short positions are at their highest levels ever, literally the largest in Ethereum's history. Oh, and speaking of big moves, I just saw a chart for XRP showing a 2-day Bollinger Band squeeze. It's a signal that a major move could be coming soon. All right, let's be real for a second. We've seen this before. People brushed it off because these charts come up all the time, right? Let's talk honestly here. Everyone's been hyping up XRP, saying the squeeze is coming. The squeeze is going to be huge. And sure, it's exciting, but it's starting to feel a bit like the boy who cried wolf. We hear it almost every day, yet nothing really happens. Remember back in November, same thing. We were right up against the top Bollinger Band. It squeezed, and then boom, we finally broke out. Here's the thing. No one's getting too hyped until we actually see that breakout. When it happens, when XRP makes that big move up, then it's time to get excited. Here's how XRP dominance is shaping up right now. We're forming a nice little flag while still in a downtrend, but it looks like we're starting to build a solid floor. A breakout is on the horizon. On my chart, I'm keeping an eye on two key levels, 6% and 8%, and then around 11%, 14.3.io. I'm confident we'll see these levels hit again for XRP. The buzz around XRP right now is absolutely insane. It's no wonder analysts like Credible Crypto are predicting some wild price movements. He even revisited one of his March posts and gave some fresh insights about XRP's dominance. Let's take a look back at his post from March 6th. He's a big fan of Elliott wave theory, which is why we see these wave patterns, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. According to him, Bitcoin is about to hit wave 5, while XRP is still somewhere between wave 2 and wave 3. Personally, I think we've already moved closer into the wave 3 zone. It looks like we might be entering that wave 3 zone. The target for XRP is expected to hit somewhere between $28 and $32. The initial goal here is $28. Now, just to be clear, this isn't me throwing shade at Credible Crypto, but he was predicting a $20 to $30 XRP way back in 2020 and 2021. Of course, the big issue back then was the XRP lawsuit. The SEC case hung over XRP like a storm cloud for years until now. What I really respect about Credible Crypto is that he stuck to his thesis all this time. And honestly, I believed it was possible back in 2021, and I still believe it's possible today, actually even more so now. Why? Because the SEC case is finally coming to an end, and that changes everything. Crypto adoption is taking off like never before. Big news, legislation in the US is about to pass, and it could be a massive game changer for XRP. We're talking major growth potential here. Plus, if Bitcoin is headed toward 150K or even 200K, it's not a stretch to imagine altcoins going absolutely wild. And here's the kicker. Ethereum short positions are at all-time highs right now. Historically, this kind of setup often leads to a short squeeze, which could be the spark for phase 2 of the market. If that happens, we might even see the start of an epic alt season. I mentioned this in last night's video, but it's worth repeating. This could be a huge moment for crypto. So here's the deal. XRP is shaping up to be one of the most exciting coins in the market right now, second only to Bitcoin in terms of clear and strong price action. Starting from just 50 cents at launch, XRP has been consolidating for 8 months above its previous all-time high monthly close. That's a big deal. If you're not bullish on XRP yet, you probably should be. On the USD chart, XRP has been holding strong on the macro level, staying above its previous all-time high levels. This kind of price action is incredibly bullish and solidifies XRP as one of the most promising cryptocurrencies in the space right now. Looking at the XRP/Bitcoin pair, the chart mirrors the XRP dominance chart. There are two key levels in play, and if those levels are hit, we're looking at gains of 84% to 150% or even as high as 284% to 450% against Bitcoin. The USD chart shows we're at some key levels here, and the weekly chart is telling an interesting story. We've been consolidating for 112 days now, and we're getting super close to a breakout. Honestly, I don't think we'll have to wait much longer. This kind of long consolidation usually means something big is coming. Take XRP, for example. It's been consolidating for 8 months above its previous all-time high monthly close. That's a long time. And when it finally breaks out, I think we're going to see something really exciting. All the waiting, the frustration, and the impatience will feel worth it once we see how strong this breakout could be. As I mentioned before, we're getting really close with all of these short positions around Ethereum and the recent inflows. I covered this in more detail in last night's video, so definitely check it out if you want to understand why now is a great time to be bullish on altcoins. Now let's talk about XRP. I totally agree with Credible Crypto on this one. XRP has one of the cleanest and clearest charts out there right now. Even on the weekly chart, it looks fantastic. We're in a consolidation phase, but here's the exciting part. We still have a higher low, which I've mentioned before, that's building off the previous low, and we're just waiting for that higher high. Once we hit that higher high, the waiting game is over. We're heading straight into the next wave for XRP, and I truly believe it's going to be incredibly bullish. So if you found this helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more free content. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.